it's the end of password sharing for Netflix users. Netflix on Thursday announced that only members of a household will be able to access a single account. If anybody else outside of the household is using the account, they must transfer their profit to a new account for which they will have to pay and consider changing their password. With that decision to crack down on user sharing passwords with people beyond their immediate family members, the company seeks to shore up revenues. In fact, Netflix in May imposed restrictions on password sharing in as many as 100 countries, and the crackdown helped the company add nearly 6 million subscribers globally. What is the impact of password sharing and the rights that have taken away will be on an average Indian family? Let's discuss that. We have Karan from Elara Capital joining us at this point in time. Karan, good afternoon. Thanks very much for taking time out. I quickly want to begin by understanding what's the impact that's going to be on average consumer, and how much and how many more accounts that the company plans to add through this initiative in India specifically.
Hi. So if you look at Netflix, what they've done is, something very innovative in terms of password sharing. I think globally this has been a phenomenal response because they've added close to 7 million subscribers in the first half of CY23, as compared to last year, wherein they lost out around 1.5, 2 million subs, and everybody thought that Netflix has kind of peaked out in terms of subscriber base. So they've got multiple layers of growth. The first leg was in US when they were expanding market. Then was a launch in various nations. And now, there's no growth driver as such to drive a higher subscription base. And that's why they've got this thing of password sharing. And the other way to monetize revenue is also the advertising revenue, the ad supported model, which is going to be launched. Now, the impact in terms of India per se is that we will definitely see some respite in terms of the broader subscriber growth. But, India market that way is very price sensitive in nature. So whatever is followed globally in terms of a large number of subscriber addition because of password sharing kind of being restricted, or moving on to paid password sharing, we may not see that kind of a big positive delta in India market, right? Because the competition is very high here. There is always a customer who will kind of resort to piracy in some or the other way. So definitely it's a respite for their India subscription revenue. But whether or not this can be the only big growth driver, that is a question mark. I think second thing what we have to see to really track Netflix growth is the subscription growth excluding this impact. So there are generally two drivers for the subscription video on demand revenue growth, which is addition of subscribers, and the second is ARPU. I think the second leg of growth, which is ARPU, I think that is a big challenge right now because the market dynamics are changing completely post Jio Cinema launching IPL free. We've seen, Star, they are going to offer World Cup content free of course. So I think it's going to be very tough for any kind of the competitor platforms to take any kind of a price hike. On the other hand, you've got Netflix, which is the lowest as compared to the global, other countries in terms of the monthly ARPU pricing. And the pricing obviously cannot, come down further from here on. So all in all, there is some respite, for the broader growth numbers, but can this be like a very big delta? I think that is a question mark.
Okay, I understand you've got a flight to catch. So I have just a very quick question to ask. Is Netflix looking at losing subscribers?
I don't think they would lose subscribers. As I said, there will be a potential positive impact, but it may not be as big. So let's take the example here. For example, you've got, three households using the same password. In some of the instances, what will happen is that out of the three households, one household moves out and the other household actually ends up paying for subscription. So you have an advantage there. At some instances, you'll probably have three set of households, and out of that, two of them will just move out and resort to piracy. So the impact is going to be mixed, and it's not going to be like a big delta impact as you've seen globally, because addition of 8 million subscribers on a base of 240 million is like a very large number, given where Netflix is kind of been in terms of penetration. And I think to give it to the point that Netflix does not have too many growth drivers in India, because even the ad-supported model cannot actually scale up aggressively in India because the pricing is low, the ARPUs are very low. So if the basic plan today is 149. I don't foresee them cutting prices to 80 rupees, 100 rupees for the ad-supported model. Globally, the ad-supported model can drive scale efficiency because globally the ARPU is high. So you can have an ad-supported model at a lower price. So I don't even see Netflix kind of cutting ARPUs because of ad-supported model.
All right, Karan, appreciate you taking time out this afternoon. Interesting takeaways. Krishna, and for me, most importantly, although there may not be a big delta and a jump in customer base or the revenue that Netflix will shore up, essentially reasons being the prices that Netflix offers in India are already very competitive. There is a huge competition in the market by the way of other OTT players. So with this move, one thing that Netflix will definitely attract is a lot of criticism. Not sure whether it will attract the same sort of revenues that it got globally.
Right. Shweta, the thing is that surveys have said that nearly 1 in 3 Indians share passwords on OTT, and they don't think it's a problem. It's perfectly fine. Whereas the industry believes that it's not the big players like Netflix and Disney. They have regional OTT platforms in regional languages. When they are trying to launch their own OTT platforms, they know how harmful password sharing can be for profits. So the problem here is that password sharing is not a problem of just Netflix, but the entire OTT industry per se. The thing is that unlike Netflix, which is entire business model is just built on the OTT platform route, be it a Disney Star or be it an Amazon, this is part of their business. And they are yet to come up with any concrete steps. And industry analysts say that it needs a unified action from across OTT players in the industry to somehow crack down on password sharing, because what password sharing does is definitely bring down revenues. Imagine 1 in 3 people who log into a Netflix are using a shared password. That's a big number.
Very big number.
So hence, I think what will happen with Netflix doing this kind of a harsh measure, and it's because it's logical that Netflix doesn't have any other business that it can rest its laurels upon. It has to find the best way of monetizing its OTT platform business, and hence it's taking these drastic measures. And will it be unpopular? Yes.
Extremely.
But the question is...
And a reason why, because, and it's interesting, important to point out that Netflix did add about 600 million, as Karan was also saying, 600 million new subscribers on an already firmly larger audience base and in Western countries. But in India specifically, where every penny is counted, every rupee is taken into account, 1 out of 3 people actually share passwords. You're not expecting all of them to suddenly start subscribing individually. My concern with this is, you've got to have a shared internet. And I may be living away from my home or my parents or my husband, and we're maybe on different bandwidths, different internet. In which case, within a family, within a household too, we're not able to share passwords. Becomes extremely difficult to maneuver these problems.
Right. I think we're at a very early stage in terms of finding a solution to make sure the money, there's no spillage of revenues for the OTT platforms. Because let's face it, they ain't having a great time in terms of their own profits, and that's the reason why you're seeing the prices, OTT prices remain at what it is. And whereas a company like an Amazon or a Disney or other players are able to deep discount based on their own business models. And that's the point I'm trying to make, Shweta. This is okay for those companies. These huge behemoth OTT players are also in the OTT business per se. But what happens in OTT as a platform is not just meant for these big behemoths. You're going to have regional Indian OTT players coming up across in Tamil and Gujarati, and they already exist. In fact, there is an AHA. Which is a Tamil and Telugu OTT, exclusive Tamil and Telugu OTT, no English content whatsoever, pure language, general entertainment content. They can't afford password sharing. They want every subscriber in the country possible. And they make original content. Tons of money gets spent making original content. The logic is that viewers should view it, people I think should view it this way. You don't want to go spend money at the movie theaters. The movies at the movie theaters are not going to be like the ones that you want. Right?
Absolutely.
If you want to drive consumption, learn to pay for it. Be it news or OTT content. You want better news, learn to pay for news. You want better OTT content, learn to pay for good OTT content. I think that should be the message for the people at least. Because because you're going to pay.
You want good content, pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, starting with us.
Absolutely. and remember, Netflix did shore up additional revenues in the second quarter of the calendar year. Globally, we don't know whether this will happen for the India business as well. I mean, all hopes are that Netflix, of course, with this move of banning password sharing, is hoping to shore up revenues, is also hoping to onboard new customers. We'll, of course, have to wait and watch out for when that happens.